Ever wonder what's really happening inside your brain during the chaos of war? It's not chaos. It's actually this powerful, ancient, and honestly deeply misunderstood biological program that takes over when your life is on the line.
So, let's just ask it straight up. What happens when your brain panics? You know, most of us probably think it's a system breaking down, right? A total loss of control. But what neuroscience is showing us, well, it tells a very, very different story.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. Panic isn't your brain failing you. Not at all. It's actually your brain running this incredibly sophisticated, highly evolved program. A program with a predictable sequence of commands, all for one single purpose: to keep you alive. That's it.
So to really get this, you have to understand that our brain, it basically has two modes of operation. You've got the one we use every day, and then there's the one that just takes over in a crisis. And that switch, man, it is almost instantaneous.
All right, check this out. It's like you've got two different brains in one skull. On one side, you've got your prefrontal cortex. Let's call it the thinking brain. This is the part that's logical, analytical, but, and this is key, it's kind of slow. Then on the other side, you've got the amygdala, your survival brain. Think of it as your internal threat radar. And this thing is blindingly fast, totally reflexive, and it runs on pure, raw instinct.
So what happens when that amygdala, that threat radar, detects a life or death threat? You know, like an explosion or incoming fire? It triggers something neuroscientists have a great name for, an amygdala hijack. And it doesn't ask for permission. It just seizes control from that slower, logical prefrontal cortex. The survival brain literally, well, it hijacks the whole system.
And the immediate result of that hijacked? It's something called a cognitive greyout. As soon as the amygdala takes the wheel, it basically shuts down the prefrontal cortex. Your ability to think complex, rational thoughts, poof, it's gone. And you might ask, why? Well, because in that split second, thinking is a liability. It's just too slow. All that matters is reflex and instinct.
Okay, so the thinking brain is offline. What's next? Well, the body's primal responses kick into high gear. Now, we've all heard of fight or flight, right? But there's a third option, a really critical one, that gets activated a lot in combat situations. So here's how it plays out, and it happens in a flash. First, the brain detects a threat. Then, in a fraction of a second, it's calculating its options. If that super fast calculation comes back and says, nope, can't fight, can't run, maybe you're pinned down by fire, it immediately engages the freeze response. And listen, this is not a conscious choice. It's a completely involuntary command coming from a deep part of your midbrain called the periaqueductal gray, the PAG. You can think of it like an ancient biological circuit breaker for movement.
And this is so important to understand. The freeze response isn't about being paralyzed by fear. It's an active biological tactic. It's a deeply ingrained instinct to become invisible to a threat. This really reframes something that's so often misunderstood as cowardice. It's not. It is an ancient survival program, the exact same one that told our ancestors to stay perfectly still when a predator was nearby.
Okay, so as all this physical stuff is happening, something else, something really strange starts to happen with your perception of reality itself. Your brain doesn't just react to the world, it starts to actively warp it to give you the best possible chance of survival.
The brain triggers these two wild phenomena at the same time. On one hand, you get tachypsychia. That's a distortion where your sense of time just slows way down. Everything feels like it's in slow motion, giving you more time to react. And at the same time, you get auditory exclusion. Your brain literally hits a neurological mute button, making you deaf to the chaos around you.
So why on earth would your brain do this? It's all about something called sensory tunneling. It's intentionally filtering out all the data it decides is non-essential, like sound, like the normal flow of time, so it can dedicate 100% of its processing power to the single most important thing, the visual information about the threat right in front of you.
And this really makes it click, doesn't it? This biological trick is why you hear so many combat survivors talk about something really haunting, this memory of a profound dead silence. Even when they were right in the middle of a deafening firefight, it wasn't actually silent. Their brain just turned the volume all the way down.
So we've talked about what happens in the moment, but now we need to talk about the aftermath, because that same chemical cocktail that saves your life, well, it can unfortunately leave a lasting wound, especially on your brain's memory systems. Remember that amygdala hijack? Well, during that event, the body is just flooded with stress hormones. And I'm not talking about the stress you feel before a big meeting. This is a chemical flood so intense that it actually becomes neurotoxic. That means it can cause real physical damage to parts of your brain.
Specifically, we're talking about a type of hormone called glucocorticoids. In these extreme doses, they basically have a corrosive effect on a part of the brain called the hippocampus. And this is absolutely crucial because the hippocampus is like your brain's librarian. It's the part that's responsible for taking new experiences and filing them away correctly as past events.
So here's the devastating result. With the hippocampus damaged by those stress hormones, the brain can't properly file the memory of the traumatic event. It can't timestamp it and put it in the past cabinet. The memory just gets stuck. This is the neurobiological reason why trauma often feels like it's always happening right now. The brain literally doesn't know where else to put it.
And that brings us to the final, lasting change we're going to talk about. Because after going through a threat like that, the brain doesn't just snap back to normal. It adapts. It actually rewires its entire alarm system to be what it thinks is better prepared for the future.
We call this rewired state hypervigilance. And what it means essentially is that the brain's threshold for alarm gets permanently lowered. The setting is basically changed from normal to high alert, 24/7. And the result is that everyday things, a car backfiring, a door slamming shut, can be instantly interpreted by the amygdala as a life or death threat.
And what's driving this? Well, there's a part of the brain called the locus coeruleus. It's the brain's main adrenaline factory. And in a post-combat brain, that factory can get stuck in the on position. It's just constantly pumping out adrenaline, keeping the body primed for danger, and creating that super intense startle response.
And this chart just shows it perfectly. Look, in a typical brain, the threat level has to get way up here before the alarm bells go off. But in a brain that's been through combat, that threshold is way, way lower. It takes so much less to trigger that exact same full-blown survival response.
But here's maybe the most important takeaway of all. From your brain's point of view, this is not a malfunction. It's not a bug. It's a feature. This hypervigilance, it's a deeply logical, adaptive mechanism. The brain is simply doing everything it possibly can to make sure you are never, ever caught off guard again.
So when we pull this all together, what does it mean? It means that what we call panic, especially in the heat of combat, is not a personal failing. It's not a sign of weakness. It is a predictable, it is a powerful, and it is a deeply ancient survival program that is hardwired into our very biology.
And so that leaves us with one last really important question to think about. Knowing all of this, knowing this is biology, not weakness, that these are involuntary responses, not choices or moral failings, how can that knowledge change the way we think about, the way we talk about, and ultimately the way we support the people who have had to live through